You're tuned to Off the Ball, the most petty and ill-informed sports programme on radio.
Teams, let me see those hands again. Hang on now. Hey, everybody jump.
Welcome to Off the Ball. I'm Susie McCabe, he's Tam Cowan, and you're tuned to the odd couple of Scottish football. Subjects today are Club TV.
Wait a minute, our subjects today, who
I
cares?
know.
Susie's in to do the show for the first ever Saturday,
Aye.
and we hit you with that. Now,
I've just been let down there, haven't I?
available on eBay if anybody's growing their rhubarb this year. Susie's knickers are available. What was starting the price at? When I saw your wee face there,
Just that.
these things happen. Right,
Can I
that's
just
it.
say though, I had absolutely nothing to do with that. That was all about the technical people.
I don't.
Don't even.
I'm a team player. So you know what? I'll take the blame.
You don't
Well, I don't know.
He's literally just sat down. It's nothing to do with him at all.
It wasn't me. It was a script writer.
No, not
Right.
even the script writer.
No, but
As
you
if
find
there's a
that.
script writer on here.
You know what? It was still, I think, about 99% better than any intro that Cosgrove's ever done. Because there wasn't any phlegm, there wasn't any coughing, any emphysema. You know, so you were absolutely fine.
A bit of COPD.
Exactly. Right. I couldn't care less because we've got a great show lined up. More about our guests, Jill Brown and Kevin Dalglish in a minute. And if you think, where have I heard Kevin's name? Where have I heard Kevin's name? He's on the Great British Menu,
Yes.
of course. I think it was last week he was on, week before last. So we'll be having a laugh and a joke and a carry on with them. And we've got 4 great topics as usual, a great team of the week, bit of music to play us out. We've got a Terrace and teaser. Who cares about that clumsy introduction?
That wasn't my clumsiness. I am absolutely not to listen. I'll take responsibility when but you know, there's a wee guy in a booth now who's currently sitting watching his pension disappear.
Well, he's not watching his pension because if you've seen the Shawshank Redemption, he stood in a stool and out writing his name in the rafters, and he's just about to jump. But anyway, right, what are we talking about, Susie? Go
Right,
for it.
we've got Club TV, Tam, because there's been a beef this week. If I knew when I left this studio
Aye.
that there was going to be a beef between Aberdeen's Club TV and Motherwell, tell us
It's
what
a
happened.
very, very strange one, and I find myself embroiled in it. Rob McLean and Steve Tosh were doing the game for Red TV that night. Now, the headlines of this should have been, you know, Motherwell blowing a 3-0 lead. I think it's only Motherwell fans and maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, Hibs fans who don't feel comfortable when you're 3-0 up. You know what I mean? You still think, no, we're going to get done here, right? And had it not been for the intervention of VAR, then indeed we might have lost 4-3, and heavens knows what would have happened next. But I hands up, because I'm either going to the games, or if Motherwell are out of reach, I watch the action coming in here. I don't dabble in club TV.
No.
However, Wednesday night I was away with the wife in St Andrews, lovely St Andrews, and it was Valentine's night, so I was looking for something today.
Looking for your first love.
Aye, well, it's been 18 years, so I thought I must be able to get this game somewhere.
See, to be fair, in my first marriage, we were in honeymoon, and we'd been 2 days in honeymoon, and the hotel gave me my private cinema to watch Juventus v Celtic.
Oh,
I know. And I was on honeymoon, and that is why that marriage never lasted.
wow, the Travelodge in Hollands isn't normally like that. But no, so I was, so I'm up there and watched the Red TV. Now, the reason I get embroiled in this, and more real reason for having a go at Steve Tosh, who was number 2 to Rob McLean. Steve, and I thought, oh, come on. And you know how you want to defend your own club? You hate when somebody has a pop at your club unfairly. Steve mentioned about, if you get into Fir Park, it's not an easy place to go, the state of that pitch, words to that effect. I thought, Steve, come on. for 10 years it's been the best playing surface in Scotland, and there are visiting managers of other clubs who agree with that. And then he chucked in, he says, and you've got the slope. Steve, that was fixed, I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago now, you know. It's like a boat, that is the quintessential bowling green, Motherwell's Park now, but that's fine, because he then getting bothered, and Red TV getting bothered, Motherwell fans, and they were claiming a bit too partisan. For example, he was rubbing his hands with glee when Stephen O'Donnell came on as a sub for Motherwell. He was basically saying, oh, this guy's rotten, that's it. Aberdeen, what a chance they've got. No, this guy's garbage. He used to play with Scotland, but he's rubbish, you know. So that's an issue between Steve Tosh and Stephen O'Donnell, but the Motherwell fans get weighed into that. But the bottom line is, if you're watching club TV, I'm playing devil's advocate a wee bit here. It'd be easy for me to rant as a Motherwell fan, but I'm going to actually stick up for Steve Tosh, because for the guys that pay subscriptions to Club TV, I don't want it to sound like bland, run-of-the-mill, mainstream telly, shall we say. I want them to get their backs up about their own team, about the opposition and that. And I'm sorry, but Motherwell fans have dished out enough abuse to Stephen O'Donnell this season without worrying about what Steve Tosh has said. So, I think, Steve, if you're tuned in, you were incorrect about the pitch and that. We'll let that go. But I'm going to kind of side with him a wee bit. But it's blown up. There's been Motherwell fans contacting Alan Burrows, of course, Motherwell fan up there at Aberdeen now as chief executive. And, they're maybe saying, could it not have been tempered a wee bit, because Motherwell fans paid to see this as well. Now, whereas you would say that, maybe the same Motherwell fans, because it was Valentine's night, because it was a Wednesday night, because the weather was rotten, they might have been at the game, but they had a good excuse for no being, paid their money, watched it there, and they were maybe expecting a wee bit more balance. But I must be honest, some of the, Tommy Boyd has been slaughtered in quarters for ranting and raving about Celtic, about referee decisions, about, Rangers and what have you. But he's a Celtic fan. I'm saying that, former Motherwell captain. But he's a Celtic fan. And I think, fine, let him rant. The great line for me, in the Rangers TV, what's the goalie doing?
What's the goalie doing, Tam?
Moments like that are brilliant, you know. Do you ever watch Celtic TV? Do you ever watch the games that way?
My mate's got a subscription, and I have done with my mate, but you know what? I can't be doing with the partisan. I want people to just be honest, because do you know what? I think that irks fans more. See if you're not playing well.
Yeah.
And then, I remember Celtic, I think it was maybe 1-1 up at Cali Thistle, and Strachan was the manager. And Gordon Strachan came out after the game and went, it was a really hard game. Inverness Cali played really well, and my players played great, and we're lucky to get our point. And I remember being furious because it was terrible. And I thought, if you're furious at the manager for saying that, who's trying to protect his players, I feel as if there's a protection, almost a level of protection in the club, and it's a wee bit North Korea, regardless of what team you support.
Motherwell fans have voiced their concerns about that sometimes this season. When you see maybe half an hour after a game and you get the club tweet the interview, the filmed interview with the manager, and it seems as if they're trying to sometimes put words in the manager's mouth and remind them that, but we've had a really good start to the season if you've just had a terrible result,
and
they must have. It was good to see him back from being injured. They're trying to pick out positives for them, and it's not the way that fans always think. They want the questions maybe a wee bit harder.
And if you're not playing well and you're only performing as a team, fans want answers, and they should be able to get that direct from the club, instead of this kind of, we'll just gloss over this and we'll try and look at that, and you go, and that really annoys fans more, because they go, wait a minute, I know what I've just watched, and you're taking me for a mug, you're taking my money. And I think regardless of what your team is, we all feel a bit like that.
It's a good subject, and I think purely because I don't really dip into it much. I think that was the debut the other night. It was the only thing I dipped into on Wednesday night, I can assure you. And 80295 in the text. You can email offtheball@bbc.co.uk. Club TV. Give us all your thoughts, and I'd love to hear from the Motherwell fans, perhaps even Steve Tosh or Rob McLean, who was commentator on the night. Usual polished performance from Rob. They weren't having a go at Rob, but they were getting absolutely battered into Stevie Tosh. So there we go. Give us your take on that. Club TV in general. Compare it and contrast it to mainstream telly, if you will. And that's our number one talking point. And we're going behind bars.
Yes.
For number two,
Yes.
because this is a great story. We're about to be joined by Jill Brown, an old pal of mine from yesteryear. We had a mutual pal, none other than Mr. Graham Spears, Esquire.
Oh,
A lot of Graham,
look
he's
at
tuned
you.
in. Jill, former newsreader, she's done 101 things, but currently involved in a record label for ex-offenders at Berlin. So I'm going to get her to fully explain that, right?
Yes.
In fact, I'm just going to get her to explain it, because what we were imagining is ex-offenders. Everybody, we were talking about it in the show last week, everybody deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
So I'm assuming it's folk with a musical bent are able maybe to come out when they're trying to rehabilitate themselves, and if it's music is their passion, they're able to maybe get something sorted with Jill.
Yeah.
She'll give us the full explanation, but we are going with a one-word topic: prison. A one-word topic: prison. And if possible as well, well, just whatever that word means to you. And I'm going to start with Susie, who has been in quite a few prisons, but she'll explain it just a bit later. Football connections with prisons, you of course, George Best
Oh, aye.
had his time in prison.
Big
I remember at the time, Jack McLaughlin, of best known for Thingamajig on STV.
Oh, aye.
Well, Jack McLaughlin was on Radio Clyde, more about local radio, and indeed DJs later. But I got a wee memory of that. It was a great gag. Jack McLaughlin live in his show when George Best got to jail. He said, George will like it in there. There's plenty of bars. Right. I always remember that gag, right? But there's been other football connections with prison. Duncan Ferguson, of course, now the Inverness manager, controversially got a prison sentence in the back of the infamous headbutt, but maybe you could say a little one or two other incidents. Another connection with the football in the prison. Willie Irvin. Now, what was the prison? Willie Irvin, man of many, mainly lower league clubs, was it taken hostage? There was been a rooftop protest.
Remember that?
Remember it?
That
What was the
a
prison?
thing. Was it shots?
Was it shots or was it and Willie was a prison guard, and he was one of the guys that was taken up on
the roof.
you know.
This used to be a thing. Let's just explain if you're under 40. This
Aye.
used to be a thing. There used to be, and they would always do it in winter, which was awful
Exactly.
strange.
Exactly. But you don't see the rooftop protest now at prisons, because why would you, when you've got your plasma telly, you've got Sky
PlayStation.
Plus, Netflix in the cell, your sauna, you've got everything else. But but it was definitely Willie Irvin. If anybody can remember the actual roof of which prison he was on, but there's loads of connections there. But it's just a one-word topic: prison. Keep it light. Tell us what that means to you. And yourself, Susie, you have gigged
I have.
in how many prisons?
I've gigged in a few. I've done so I done when Corton Vale was still Corton Vale. I've done Corton Vale, done Pullman, done Berlin a couple of times. There was prisons that I actively avoided doing, but yeah, I went to them, and it was, I mean, you're not selling any tickets in the back here, I'll be honest with you. Nobody's coming to your gig in the back of it, but it was interesting, and I just found the whole thing really interesting. And what was great at the end of the gig, obviously you're there and the prisoners is there, and the prisoners would come up and talk to you, and it had been part of a reward scheme for them. So in Berlin you've obviously got the blocks,
Right.
and so many from each block would come who'd excelled at their work that week and done all their tasks, and it was a reward, and it would always be kind of around about Christmas time, because regardless, like, people obviously struggle, and it'd be around about then, and you would go in there. But I also worked in them as an electrician.
See?
Worked in prisons as a spark, priced prisons as an estimator, and it was a nonsense because you could only take in if you were working in a live block, you could only take in like two items, like a screwdriver and a pair of test lamps.
Right.
And if you needed something else, you then had to sign it out,
Right.
go all the way out the prison, go to your van, get it back in, then come all the way back through the
Did
prison again.
MD ask you to bring anything in for them?
No,
No?
no, they were all lovely, you know, they were all lovely and just dead nice, and like they just treated you as somebody that was in working in the prison and talked to you about what was happening in the football or whatever else, you know. So, it
So
was
for
fine.
folk who listen to your intro today and says she should get the jail for that,
Well,
I've actually been in quite a few of
Still
them.
mate's getting the jail, let me just say. I've just seen somebody getting dragged out the BBC at PQ because they pressed the wrong button.
Now, we're going to keep it in the light. We're going to have a wee bit of fun with that in just a minute. Myself, I've done, and no names, no pack drill, but I remember being asked to get into Barlinnie prison. And it was after I'd done the hour with Michelle McManus. But it was it wasn't too harsh a sentence. But no, I was asked to get in there a long number of years ago now, and it was in the prison chapel, as they call it, and to host the Christmas quiz, right? Now, my memory of that was, and this still kind of slightly haunts me to this day, and there'll be a few listeners tuned in who'll be able to probably piece this together, know who I'm talking about. But I kept looking at one of the quiz teams, right? There was maybe 12, 15 teams that were all sitting there. The prizes, you know, but hey, they were in prison, so it was never going to be, you know, a speedboat or a trip to the Bahamas. It was a bar, a big kind of Christmas size bar of dairy milk and a 2 litre bottle of Coca-Cola split between them, right?
Listen, I'd take that the now.
Absolutely. But that was the prize that was up. I did the quiz, and then as I'm sitting there going through the questions and all the rest of it, you know, and I kept looking out at one of the teams, and I thought, I know that guy, right? A face that I recognise. No, now I'm not wanting to talk down my upbringing and all the rest of it. But I thought, is that a guy from Motherwell? You know, is that a guy I was at school with? And I still wee flicker of recognition because he's looking back at me and everything, you know. And I thought, who was it? And then it was only, as luck would have it, their team won. And their team then had to come up and I had to present the prize. And the guy who I had been looking at was, lo and behold, the captain of their team. So he was the guy I had to speak to. So he came up and I'm thinking, I know him. And his name, I'm not going to repeat it, came to me in a flash. And it turns out he was a former top flight footballer in Scotland.
Is that right?
Synonymous, I think, with one club in particular. And, you know, he'd fallen by the wayside, he'd had his troubles, and he ended up in the jug. And I ended up having a wee blather to him. And the funny thing was, once I was blathering, this was a wee kind of, and yes, I know I'm no, you know, I'm not making light of whatever it was the guy was in there for. Did I know what he was in there for? But after I'd been chatting to him, just before the guard said to me, right, Tam, need to go now, that's it, thanks. It was almost like the most natural thing in the world. I was just ready to say to him,
Yeah.
we need to get a pint sometime.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
Aye.
It felt, I'll see you through the week for a curry. And it was just like bang. And the thing that I took out of that, I bet you found it quite a scary environment, you know?
I found, once you get past the security element, right, see once you do that, and I'd maybe be working in a room and there'd be prisoners working, like say like the kitchen or the laundry or whatever, you kind of forget after about 5 minutes that you're working in a prison. You're just fixing something.
Aye.
One of my favourite things that ever happened was doing a gig in Cornton Vale, and there was a guy hosting this gig, which should have been an indicator that it was going to go wrong. And he's opening gambit with, I went through airport security recently. Has any of you been through airport security recently? And I just thought, oh yeah, no, the whole room just tumbleweed coming through like.
I had a wee bit like that at Shotts prison. I went there as well, wee Q&A. And some pretty hardy characters, but the wardens there, it was that way, well trained. The minute they were, I says, aye, fire and ask it a wee Q&A thing. Aye, if you want to take the mickey about Motherwell, anything you want, go for it, you know. But the minute any of them maybe said something a wee bit untoward, you could hear, you saw a wee bit of slightest of movement from one of the wardens, and they thought, oh, right, shut up, you know. And there was one guy who's been a wee bit cheeky with me, and I still see it now. I still got a cold shiver. And that was that. The guy had been a wee bit lippy with me or something like that. And I answered, you know, that's good. And I says, by the way, I says, well, you've been in here. I says, your wife's done up that spare bedroom. It was words to that effect.
Yeah.
Right, well, he was ready to launch himself, but chain gang stuff.
What I find interesting as well with the wardens and the relationship with the prisoners, and we were obviously dealing with prisoners who are following the rules and doing everything they're meant to be doing in there,
Aye.
right? Is that relationship, is that they do have a bit of a laugh, and there is this kind of, because there's kind of got to
Aye,
be,
of course.
because there's one's doing a job, one's serving a sentence, and it's kind of cheap jail, and I'm not glorifying it.
No, we're
in
not saying,
any
just
way.
for the record, we're not saying that folk that are in there, murderers, rapists, whatever.
No.
We're talking about folk that are in there and they maybe need a kick up the backside and get back out.
And get back out. And you know what? Let's be honest. Some people actually actively go and get themselves put in there because it's maybe safer for them to be in there.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
where's my telly?
Yeah.
Netflix. I've told you, I've explained it all. But listen, one word, prison. And what we're going to do as well, because we were talking about the record label for ex-offenders at Berlini, we're wanting you to suggest if Berlini had to bring out the album. Now, that's what I call Berlini, Volume 1. What songs might appear on the Berlini album? The ones that we've got, see if you fancy these, Susie. First up, of course, you know I'm a big Engelbert fan,
Yep.
so Release Me has got to be right on there for the Berlini album. Are You Lonesome Tonight? Wee bit of Elvis in there. A wee bit of maybe Nat King Cole, no pun intended, but I Wonder Who's Kissing Her Now. Or has she been faithful? We've got other ones. I Want to Break Free.
Oh,
Queen.
yeah.
What else have we got? We got to get out of this place. I think that was, who was that? The Move?
The move.
The Animals?
Yeah.
Was
No,
it
no,
the
it was
Animals?
the Animals.
All by myself. Right, okay. We'll allow that. Oh, for Willie Irvin, Up on the Roof.
Oh, nice.
The Drifters, or maybe even Tarby's golf partner, Kenny Lynch. I think he'd have hit with that. Soap Gets in Your Thighs.
Keep going.
There's a guy works down the cop shop, swears he's innocent. Here old Kirsty McCall. What a voice she had.
Oh, yeah.
What
Absolutely.
a unique
Yes.
voice, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Aye.
yeah. And style as well. Quite a unique style, didn't
I
it?
dare say a wee bit of Connie Francis. Who's sorry now? So, what songs, ladies and gents, 80295 in a text, you can email off the ball at bbc.co.uk, would appear on Berlini, the album. We'll take your thoughts. And the one word topic out of that is prison. Give us any of your tales. Keep it light. That's what I try to do. Any tales at all. And me and Susie are able to keep the subject light because we're both in our element, because That's TV2, not That's TV, but one of the satellite channels, That's TV2, apart from showing things like The Benny Hill Show, Steptoe and Son, and Joy of Joys, Blankety Blank, when it was hosted by Les Dawson, they have started showing reruns of Prisoner Cell Block H.
Oh, what a theme tune.
Aye, brilliant. And the whole gang there.
Oh,
B, Lizzie Birdsworth,
Joan Ferguson.
Mum, Vinegar Tits. Oh, and Joan Ferguson was worse than her, though. She was evil.
Aye, she was twisted.
But magic, it was, I think I'm right in saying it was originally shown on STV kind of like 10 past 11 on a Thursday night.
Aye, it was late and it was random. It wasn't even at the weekend.
Aye,
It
you're
was
right.
Very random.
Aye. Anyway, one word, presence. Now, we're also going to be joined by Kevin Dalgleish. And I always like, just for the pedants out there like myself, that's Dalgleish with the E-I-S-H at the end, unlike Kenny Dalgleish. And Kevin, restaurateur. It took me ages, even as a restaurant reviewer, to learn that word, a restaurateur, when you drop a wee middle letter. I always thought it was restaurateur, but it's restaurateur. But anyway, it's a hard one to spell unless you've got it written down in front of you. Kevin, not only has got his own gaff up in Aberdeen, I'm sure he's had others, but he's taking part in this show, The Great British Menu. So what we're looking, and I hope Kevin can come up with a few, we're looking for your links. A wee on-air game we'll play between restaurants and football,
Yes.
ideally Scottish football, right?
Yes.
So you know the sort of thing, you can maybe mention the restaurant or whatever it may be, and we can jump to the football person or football story, or maybe you can give us a football name, a football story, a football club, and we'll work it in reverse to the restaurant. So if I said to you, let me give you if I said to you Plain Food at Heathrow, what's the football connection? Plain Food, and Plain, good name is Plane, Plain Food at Heathrow. It is a food place. It is a restaurant at Heathrow. I reviewed it once and I was back in it in October last year. What is the football connection? I'll give you another go. What is the football connection with, and I'm taking you back, 25 years here. School dinners. Oh, you remember then, aye? Yes.
I remember
Who was
school
it?
dinners. That was Frank McAvenny, wasn't
Frank
it?
McAvenny. Frank, if you're tuned in, I don't know if it actually got off the ground. The proposal was a restaurant that did, your semolina and steamed pudding, your
Farola.
lumpy mashed potatoes and all that. All the school dinner classics. But good old Frank, being Frank, he was going to have the waitresses all done up St. Trinian style in the school uniform. So there we go. And another easy connection. What's the you'll jump to right away. Livingston Football Club. What's the restaurant connection there?
Oh, that's the Tony Macaroni. Tony Macaroni at the Spaghetti
The
Hut.
Spaghetti Hut, right?
Great.
So you get the idea, okay? You don't get the Heathrow
No.
plain food. I'll chuck it out to the
no
listeners.
idea.
What is the football connection there? Plain food. A restaurant within Heathrow. I think it's Terminal 5 that's Heathrow.
Yeah.
It was a controversial for a while.
Aye.
But yeah, I thought it was very, very nice. But give me the connection there. We're going to be joined by Kevin. Any fans of the Great British Menu, get in contact as well. And in a packed show, just we are talking about the Great British Menu. What we're going to let you today for a wee bit of fun. And I'll start with Susie. I want almost your 3-course death row meal. Your great menu. I want you to suggest, and you can mix and match with various genres of food, various styles, various classic cuisine. So Susie, 3 courses. What you going for? Give me your starter.
Right, now I've got a very broad ranging palate. However, see when it comes to kind of comfort food, if it's my death row dinner, I'm going homemade lentil soup. Right?
Okay. Right,
Maybe-
that's your first course. And
Maybe
then the main course,
a
please.
wee bread roll with that.
You're allowed up. No, wait a minute. We need to. Is it the wee baton roll? Is it a Morton's roll?
No, a wee baton roll, a wee hot roll.
And
with
quite crunchy, quite crispy on the outside.
crispy on the outside.
Are you buttering that or just dipping it in?
Straight in. Listen, if I'm getting sent to the chair, what's the point in no butter in it?
That's a fair shout.
And then
That sounds like a punchline to a joke, doesn't it?
it's true. That's true.
Right, main course.
And I'm going to be judged. I'm going to go with a supreme of chicken because it's good to. Is that a supreme when you've got the little bone in it?
Get the bone in now. You're getting almost like the half kind of
Half
chicken on the
type
chicken
thing. So I'm
portion.
going to go for that chicken, chips, and gravy. I know, but I
Right,
love it.
just a standard, like a
Standard couple of wee peas and
Bristol
carrots.
kind of gravy, does you find?
Aye, or a wee Chinese gravy as well. You know they. Oh,
Yep,
I like that.
right. And what sort of chips? Are we talking fries, chunky, or the Jenga ones?
A
that are stacked
Jenga
up?
chip. We're not looking at chunky. We're not talking chippy chips, but we're not talking a French fry. We're talking a bit in between.
See, the Jenga, when they're presented in the plate like that, it means somebody in the kitchen has touched every one of them.
Everybody's touched everything.
I
on your
know,
plate.
I know. But anyhow, right, so that's a good. So you're basically going chicken and chips.
Chicken and chips.
Right, and your dessert, please.
I'm going all out 80s classic. It's almost 70s classic Black Forest Gatto.
Okay, that's superb. Right, brilliant. So we'll get your three courses, ladies and gents. The dream, the you're on death row. We'll imagine it that way, right? We'll go back to with a prison theme. I am going with death row. The all-you-can-eat buffet, and I would graze for 45 years. I'd say, sorry, you did ask me what I wanted. So no, I would go with, starting in the kind of soup area like you, Cullen skink.
Oh.
I don't order a lot of soup by nature on the menu, because you always think soup, cat's son, I can get out a tin in the house. What am I doing that in a restaurant? But the only exceptions I make, 3 exceptions I make, and I'll give them in reverse order. Really good minestrone from a reputable Italian restaurant. Then I would jump up to French onion soup.
Really?
Yeah, it's very messy to eat at times, right? Very stringy. Very, you get the treat. What is it called? The cheese stretch, is it? They call it
Yeah.
in America with the pizzas, right? But it's fine, delicious. But Cullen skink up there top. If I see that in the menu, it gets ordered. I had some of it through the week, even though haddock being the prime should be anyhow. A lot of it can get paddied out with the potatoes, but I had one during the week in a reputable fish and chip restaurant, and even always having haddock for my main course, still the Cullen skink, because it had the haddock in there as well. So Cullen skink, my main course, We are now crossing to India, and I'm going for a keema peas curry, a mince and peas curry.
Oh, right, okay.
And on the side with that, you had your bread roll with the soup. I'm having a very well-fired plain paratha. Right? So that would be me. And my dessert, very, very specific about this, really good, just strong cheddar cheese, maybe a wee Cornish cruncher from a well-known high street store with, and I'm sorry I need to use the brand name, with cracker wheat, the crackers.
Oh,
They're very thin, they're
those
nice and salty.
Salty ones.
Aye, and they're crisp, and you sometimes get them quite well fired if you get a lucky packet. You know, I don't like, see with cheese, you ever been in a restaurant with cheese, they bring you out like walnut bread? You think, I've just eaten two, I'm not wanting bread, I don't want a piece of cheese.
I just like a plain cracker.
Like what type?
Just like a high.
Like a Jacob's?
Aye, just a wee plain cracker.
Too dry, you know.
Or a wee round. Is it they also do the is it the water biscuits they do that are?
Oh, what, I hate water biscuits.
And I like an oat cake. Do you know
I like an oat cake, but oat cakes can be a bit, depending what ones you get, can be a bit
Smooth or
too-
rough.
If you get the Hebridean ones that are kind of well done, they're like offset triangles.
Yes.
You know the ones I mean?
Aye,
They're
aye.
very good.
Aye.
But yeah, but anyway, can we phone out for a pizza?
I know, I'm
The two are
starving.
sitting here slavering. But anyway, we're giving you the chance and it ties in with the prison. There you get the idea. I think we were right up for a cup there. I think we were very passionate about that.
Yes.
Your ideal 3-course. What's the winner? What's the one that's going to have me and Susie? Neither of us any stranger to a steak pie supper. What's the one that really will have us slavering? Give me your 3-courser. One word, prison. Club TV, give us all your thoughts. Restaurants and football. Plain food. That's the name of the restaurant. You will find it at Heathrow Terminal 5. What is the football connection? Give us all your other restaurant football connections. And finally, now I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to be one of these mawkish people. The Dan Wooten, whatever happened to him getting filmed laying flowers outside? Who did they do that for? Was it the Queen?
It was the Queen, and it was 3 attempts.
3
apparently.
attempts, right. So I must be honest, just nature of my work and what I do and all the rest of it. And because if I'm working from home, particularly in all my years with newspapers, I listen to Classic FM when I'm battering on the keyboard because I can't listen to any lyrics. I find it off-putting. Check the Off the Ball archive if you don't believe me. I mentioned that before. So I never actually listened to Steve Wright. I know the appeal of the guy. I know the audience that
Yep.
he pulled in. I'm very, very au fait with that. Were you a Steve Wright fan?
I was. Do you know what? When I used to be a Spark and I used to be out in my van, it would be Steve Wright in the afternoon. It was on.
Right.
It was the Old Woman and Ask Elvis and all that. And obviously Radio 1. I remember that whole Zoo Radio thing, you know, because he kind of changed that idea of broadcasting
Right,
and bringing
right.
people in, and the music, and then just generally on a Sunday it would always kind of be on in the house on the Sunday morning, the Sunday morning love songs. But
See, again, and I would have tapped into that because he would. Artists that you simply don't get in
Yeah.
the radio now, which I think is criminal. Tony Bennett, Mark Monroe, Nat King Cole.
Aye.
He would play
He
them
would play
in the
all
love
them
show,
on a
but
Sunday morning.
because we've got the Sunday show,
You couldn't hear it.
I miss it, you know.
he was a very, very good broadcaster. And you know, the other day I was sat at the desk in my living room and I was typing away and I was working on my show, and it literally I had my headphones on and my wife was just sat on the sofa having a cup of tea, and it came through. You know, you get the alerts on your phone that will come through if you're connected to your
aye.
headphones. And I actually turned round and I said, said to my wife, I said, you need to sit down. You need to sit down and you need to pause that. I said, you'll never guess what famous person's passed away. And honestly, the two of us were just like, no way, and went straight. Radio 2, at drive time, it's Sarah Cox, and I would normally listen to that, and the two of us put it on. And do you know the bit that got me? As we turned it over, Bobby Pryor was doing the travel, and she was doing the travel, and then she just broke, and Sarah Cox broke, and they done like 45 minutes of playing songs and music, and people were coming in with their memories of Steve Wright, and it was just like you had to listen to people who just lost a friend and a colleague, and it was really,
What
really
I thought was
sad.
lovely as well, and dare I say it, no expense spared. That's what Stuart would have said when he was there. But it's different
I
with
know what
London.
you're
It's
gonna
different with
say.
London and They brought in was it the London Symphony Orchestra?
Or BBC Symphony.
And they played his theme tune, you know what I mean? So basically then I'm asking our producer, I think it's only fair if we get the same deal. So whatever, whenever it is, later this year when Stuart snuffs it, I want the BBC Scotland Orchestra to play, is it Let Me Clear My Throat, which is the Off the Ball theme tune. I would like that to be orchestrated.
Also, can we just reassure the listeners that Stuart has not died?
How do you know?
Stuart has not died.
He's in Sri Lanka, but we've
He's
not
in
heard
Sri
from him
Lanka,
for a
but
week or
I
so.
think people are thinking, has Stuart died and I've missed that? He's not. He will be back.
He's
at
very
some
much here. But all we're going to ask you with that, and again, it might be the one that you grew up with, whoever, but who is the radio DJ that is your choice? Who's the one you grew up with? Who's the one you still listen to? Who was your all-time favourite? One name and one name only, but tell us why. Susie.
I'm going to go for Sarah Cox because I grew up as that generation of women were coming through and made it really acceptable for women to be in the media and do that. And her music's great, and she's very, very funny on her drive time show. And I think for me, the key to being a great broadcaster is somebody that I want to go for a drink with.
Right.
So I think that's for me, and that's why we're pals.
I can explain mine with for folk that like having a wee bit of criticism of my musical tastes, which are quite eclectic, but by and large it can be what would be deemed old-fashioned. But there's always a reason for things. Now, for a start, I make no apology for my choice of music. What a boring old world if everybody liked exactly the same thing. But the reason was I was brought up with my mum and dad particularly listening to Radio Clyde, brought up in West Central Scotland. So the guys right away say, good morning, Dave Marshall on the breakfast show. Remember Dave Marshall, Radio Clyde? Right, Dave Marshall brought up getting ready to go to school and all that, getting changed in front of me 1 bar electric fire.
Oh. Now you're having Colin Skink with Spearsy. How times have changed.
But Dave Marshall, and then he would play proper music. But what I loved in Radio Clyde in the midweeks, Frank Skerritt.
Right.
There's a name that will resonate with folk in West Central Scotland. Me, Frank Skerritt, seemed that the only record they ever played, mind you, was Ethna Campbell singing The Old Rugged Cross. They played that at least once per show, right? And dear old Mr. Abbey. Remember Mr. Abbey?
Who's Mr. Abbey?
Kind of good club comedian, Radio Clyde legend, and he just played right good records. And it was that stuff, the sort of records that you'll know here now.
Yeah.
They'll pop up on this station a couple of times on Brian Burnett's show.
Yeah.
If somebody requests it, forget it on, right? But other than that, you know, it's forgotten a whole year of music. And Mr. Abbey was always good. One of his wee jokes I remember a bit like Jack McLaughlin when I was saying, George Best, well, he loved the prison, loads of bars in there. One that always tickled me with Mr. Abbey, he'd played Obla Dee Obla Da one night, and he goes, that was the Marmalade before they went to pieces. A good wee Scottish joke. And it always stuck in my head. So out of them though, if I've got to pick one, Tiger Tim. Because when Tiger Tim played, I remember even into my late teens coming out of the snooker club in Mullow, and I think when his show, I'm sure he did a 70s show on a Thursday night, and I can still hear Sad Sweet Dreamer by Sweet Sensation, I think it was that sang it.
Right.
Sad Sweet Dreamer, while I was waiting in the Olympia just off Motherwell Cross for my well-fired burger, which they did very well.
Right.
And dear old Tiger, he still tunes into this show. He's not been a picture of health for a number of years now, but if you're listening there, Tiger, all the best to you. Drop us a wee text, but I'm going with Tiger Tim
I grew
Stevens.
up with Tiger Tim, so I think that's a great shout.
You prefer Cox? You prefer Sarah Cox.
I do prefer Sarah Cox.
Sorry, I don't want complaints from Michael Stewart and his potty mouth after last night. Did you see he was trending?
I did see he was trending.
It was a great deal. I'm not even going to repeat it, but you know, Wraith Rovers, a player surnamed Dick, and that leaves you open to all sorts of faux pas.
You'll find it on social media.
And he couldn't have said it any better. And when they normally apologise on air for industrial language that you may have heard, that was industrial language if the industry we're talking about is the porn industry.
Yes.
But he was
yes.
number one on Twitter. X, whatever you want to call it last night, but it was a stoter. And can I just say, but remiss of us not to, before we get the guests in, I need to tell you the team of the week. I'm so sorry. Yet again, no, it takes two to tango. Dundee United, I thought, put on a cracking game as well last night. Wraith Rovers against Dundee United. It seemed that Wraith Rovers were on the slide, and they bounced back last night. And wow, I think, you know, if they don't get up this year, by winning the league and the playoff. BBC Scotland have just got to buy them out and show all their games next season. Whenever Wraith Rovers are on the telly on a Friday night, the punters are in for a treat, worth the licence fee alone. It was another great game last night, and Big Kevin, the big Wraith Rovers goalie, wow, at 2-1, what a save at the end.
Yes.
And did he know the TV cameras were there or what? I think he could have caught it, but no, one of the best saves that I've certainly seen this season. But let's hear from the Wraith fans, Dundee United fans. We're talking about Club TV. All your thoughts. A wee barney going on between Red TV and the Motherwell fans. Let's hear your input. Our one-word topic is prison. And we would like as well your songs for a Berlini album. What sort of songs would feature on the Berlini album? Restaurants and football. Give us your connections there. And the one that I put out that stumped Susie was Plain Food, Plane, not a bad name, Plain Food, a restaurant at Heathrow Airport. What's the football connection? See if you can join the dots with us. Your favourite all-time radio DJ. We're only taking one name. You might have had a few favourites. The one name for you. And our team of the week, tomorrow, they just make these things up now. Tomorrow is Thumb Appreciation Day. Right? Are you up for Thumb Appreciation Day?
In a certain camera angle,
Right.
I look a bit like
Abu Hamza says 50-50. But the Thumb Appreciation Day, I think he's listening.
No.
So the team of the week is the Fingers 11. This is intriguing. The Fingers 11. Now, I never hide anything for our listeners, Susie.
No.
So this is almost like news to you because you went for a refreshing cigarette when we were up in the canteen.
I think you'll find that my wife will be listening, and I went for a walk to get
Oh,
my
you went for a
steps
walk?
in.
Yeah, so
Thank
you did. So you did. I knew I could smell the polo mints, right? And so we kind of conjured this up when you were having a breath of fresh air.
Right.
And the ones that we came up with were, and it's quite like a wee neat one. You're just thinking of your hand. You think, who could get into that team? So right away, Lee Griffiths. Why? Nickname?
What was his nickname? Oh, yeah.
The
of course,
Thumb.
Yeah, the Thumb. Yeah.
Right, he was given that nickname by, I'm guessing, critics.
Yes.
Opposition fans. We also got in there Neil McCann. Right? And the one that I liked that our producer came up with, Wraith Rovers legend ever since the Coca-Cola Cup win, etc.
Oh, come
Great
on.
guy, synonymous with dear old Jimmy Calderwood. Jimmy Knuckle.
Jimmy Knuckle.
So, just look at your hand, ladies. Of course, we get Tommy Ring. The legend that is Tommy Ring, straight into that team. So the Fingers 11, that's going to be intriguing. See what you come up with. 80295 in the text. You can email off the ball at bbc.co.uk. A packed show, and we still have an hour and 15 minutes to take all your thoughts, your texts, and your emails. Susie.
It's time for our guests.
Brilliant.
Sam, I'm
At
excited
long
about
last.
this.
And wait to hear this as well. We've even got a wee cracking tune.
Now there was just one day that I will never forget. I got jailed for something that I'll always regret. It was 12 o'clock midnight and I wanted a snack, so I headed downstairs, thought the fridge was packed. But when I opened the door, what did I see? The back of the fridge staring right at me. I thought to myself, I could almost die. Then an image appeared, a pizza pie. So I put on the Adidas, headed out the door, as I pictured myself eating more and more. But the store was closed, I busted into a rage. So I went to the crib and got the 12 gauge, ran back to the shop, busted down the door, and all I saw was pizza galore. So I stuffed my face, I couldn't even walk, couldn't laugh, smile, shake, giggle, wiggle, or talk. So I fell asleep with my face in my plate, and the next thing you know, I was headed upstate.
In jail without the bail. In jail. We're in jail because we fail. In jail. In jail without the bail. In jail. We're in jail because because we fell.
But Cool Rock is funny and last part is ski. And I had the worst case of any MC. But listen to the story cause it's kind of strange. When I had this sort of hunger pain, walking down the street with the pace in my box, with my stomach growling like a hungry fox. When I saw this scene, oh was it a dream? A big restaurant sign called Burger King. So I went inside, started stuffing my face, didn't even think about the things I ate. But when the bill came up, boy was I shocked. I say I don't pay for nothing, I'm the king of the slot.
There you go, kind of beat about Johnny Cash. Excellent. And we're playing that, of course. Jill Brown joins us. Jill, I think you need to explain, even some of our listeners are baffled, and we were dancing around it there, but a record label for ex-offenders at Barlinnie. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. Well, at the end, during lockdown, I came up with the idea of setting up this record label for ex-offenders. And it was as a result of work I'd been doing in Barlinnie. I've been working in Barlinnie on a voluntary basis on and off for about 10 years.
Right.
Doing some music with the guys and doing gigs, etc. And then I realised that when they got out, they didn't have a route into music. So that was how it came about. So basically, I mean, I don't just work in Barlinnie, but the idea was brought to birth.
Right, so basically you'd clocked some people who unquestionably had a wee bit of talent music-wise. And you wanted to develop that, yeah?
Yeah, actually, I think you should be the spokesperson for the record label. That was great. That was great. Yeah, I mean, there's loads of talented guys in there because people are people and everyone's got strengths and abilities, and you'd be amazed by some of the guys in prison just how talented they are.
Right, so if you get a proper shining star, if you get the next Susan Boyle or Shaking Stevens, who have we got?
No, not yet. We were working with somebody who unfortunately went to another record label, but we're kind of on the hunt. And we've just finished a series of hip hop workshops. So there's some guys that took part in that we might develop a bit. Yeah.
Right. It's a fascinating subject. And remember, what we're looking for as well, apart from that being a one-word topic, prison. I wonder, Joe, you've spent a fair bit of time in prison. I'm hoping we are, BBC, we bit of public service broadcasting here, because what I didn't get round to saying to Susie earlier, in the times that I have been in prisons as a guest, and they're at the request of the prison itself, the thing I took away from it, and I'll say it again here, if you want to keep your kids well away from prison, you want to keep yourself well away from prison, go and visit a prison.
Yep.
Because you know what, it didn't matter to me going in there, cheery Charlie, hi guys, how we doing? You were searched. All your stuff was taken off you, your watch, your phone, everything.
Yeah.
And they were apologising. Oh, Tom, I know you're in here today as a turn up. Really. I says, no, absolutely fine. But when you went in, the sounds, the smells, the echoes of doors and stuff slamming shut. It was the one thing I took away from that. I said, if you want to keep yourself away from these places, go and visit one.
Yeah.
It's no weird laughing earlier about plasma telly, right? That's an old, long-running, almost Daily Mail joke. How dare they? How dare they repeat their shtick, right?
How dare they have oxygen?
And would you kind of agree with that, Jill? They're daunting places, aren't they?
Oh, they're very daunting, especially Barlinnie, because it's such an old building, which is why they're building a new one. You know, it's really intimidating. And
it's that Victorian Hall thing, isn't it? Of those blocks, so for
orphanages and old school. Oliver Twist.
Oh yeah. For those of you that have never actually been in that type of setting, it is like the opening scenes from Porridge.
Yeah,
and it is that kind of old archaic kind of buildings. Whereas there is other prisons, like I actually priced the new prison at Shotts and stuff like that.
What was unique about the opening titles of Porridge and the world of sitcom?
Before my time.
Right, I'll chuck that out to the listeners as well. Susie did last Sunday's show, and she's still kicking herself over Burt Reynolds.
Fuming.
Because it was Burt Reynolds' obviously posthumous birthday last week, Kevin. We've not forgotten about you. Come here in a minute, Kevin.
That's all right.
But I've been in your restaurant. It took me longer for them to spot me. But you end up bringing out the flags. I'm here. But no, Susie was doing Sunday show last week, and we mentioned that it would have been Burt Reynolds, the great Burt Reynolds. It would have been his whatever birthday.
Yep.
And my question to Susie, and indeed the listeners, was who would have been deemed Burt Reynolds' oldest on-screen date? So you need to think his career. And the answer was, Susie,
It was Sophia Petrillo from the Golden Girls.
remember the wee granny?
Remember the wee...
Dorothy's mum.
I loved the Golden
Well,
Girls.
Burt Reynolds made a cracking cameo appearance in that. And part of the storyline about it was that he'd been talking to prison. It was when the three of them had been arrested
That's right.
for they were mistaken as hookers.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Sophia had a big party
I missed
to go
that
to,
one.
and she was telling him, I ended up having a laugh and a drink with Burt Reynolds, and we're going out for dinner. And they're all saying, aye, sure. And then next minute, chap at the door, and it's Burt Reynolds. So he got off with Sophia
Sophia Petrillo.
Petrillo.
Sicily, 1922.
But then he go,
That was
it's not
very
bad.
good.
aye,
That was very good,
Right,
yeah.
so we've got the prison. Kevin, tell the truth. You can get the plug in first. Well, I'll allow you that before we talk about the great British menu. Your current restaurant is what and where?
It's a Moose on Queen's Terrace in Aberdeen. So we've only been open just over a year.
Right.
So it's going okay.
All I know about it is that Richard Gordon has been in.
He has.
And Richard texted me today, so he must have liked it because he said, go easy on Kevin. So he must have liked it. And a moose, that's as in a moose bush.
That's it. See?
Yes, right, there we go.
you're
A
up to
taste
date.
for the tongue.
Up to date.
Yes, right, there we go. What sort of food?
We just like nice food. You know, people say we're fine dining, but I hate that word fine dining. We just
Right.
do nice, local, seasonal produce, really. That's our key.
And do you have, in the back of the menu, do you have the map of the nearest chip shop for when you're hungry afterwards?
Well, you should know about
Tell the
them.
truth.
You know,
Tell the truth.
There's the Bay in Stonehaven's a good one. There's a
Oh, it is excellent.
that's
We
excellent.
Callum's place.
That's it, yeah.
Aye, excellent. Oh, you don't need to I could go, that's my mastermind subject. Scotland's chip shops. But so Kevin, there we go. We've allowed you a wee bit of product placement for the restaurant. Good luck with that. 'Cause apart from anything else, hard game, Kevin.
It's hard.
There was
yeah,
some
it's hard,
folk
yeah.
even will be saying, what were we even thinking of, man?
Yeah.
It's a hard game, innit?
Yeah, well, you're only here once, so let's do it.
Quite right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I apologise to any cats that are tuned in. But at least still get 9 lives, aye. Right, that's all right. So Kevin, restaurateur, love that word, and you were on the Great British Menu week before last.
Just last week.
Just
Yeah,
last week, right? How
yeah.
did you get on?
Got pipped at the post, shall we say? Just that we got through to the judges' chamber, which was
Right.
was brutal, but that was good. I watched it for the first time just the other night, so it was interesting.
And what happened was the water in your pot noodle looked warm or something? Was it? I hope you were looking on at this with a Scottish perspective.
No, it was good. I think I loved the brief this year. The brief was the Olympic Games, obviously next year in Paris.
Right.
So that was the brief, and we got the connection back to Hoyk, obviously with the rugby sevens.
Oh.
So it was good to get a connection back to a lot of the things that I liked, you know.
So kind of Frenchy, kind of.
So yeah, I mean, the brief was obviously the Paris 2020, and then I put it back to the classical cookery because it's in France. So we had a look at my fish dish was so with a Moulds Marinière kind of sauce. So that was a hint to back to France. So
Right, lovely.
the brief was very. I mean, you just get the script as such. The brief, a month and a half before you've got to put it all together. So you've just got to take it all and try and put it all together. And it's hard,
And there are so many, of course, food programmes on now and all the Bake Off stuff. Now, refresh my memory. Who are the presenters?
So
This
Andy
one?
Oliver is the presenter. So she's great fun.
Yeah.
She just relaxes you. And my judge this year or mentor was Angela Hartnett, which again
All right,
a great ambassador for cookery. And I've known Angela for many years, but she's kind of settled you in the kitchen because we were speaking earlier. I think the only thing you can cook and you can practice the dishes, but it's the time that gets you.
Aye,
At the end of the
aye.
day. So and as soon as the
And this
camera
isn't
rolls-
your first restaurant then, Kevin? No.
This is the first, yeah.
What's your first?
Yeah, first
So were you
ever,
just working for other places?
Yeah, I just worked. I mean, I've worked. And I obviously started off in Hoyk and went down to London and then up the north of Scotland and back to Aberdeen. So
You might know the answer to your trivia question then. Plain
right.
food,
plain food.
the restaurant at Heathrow Airport. What's the football connection?
have to think about that.
Ah, right. It's going out to the listeners. It's going out to the listeners. Now, remember as well on restaurants and football, don't know if the pair of you have managed to conjure up any other connections you can think of. If I said to you, and sadly it's no longer there now, I just thought of one, restaurant and football, Skippers. Skippers. It was a fish and chip restaurant